Welcome back, everyone, to the smartest year ever, our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. My name is Gordy, and I was just wondering, do you know about Able Archer 83? It was one of the most intense moments of the Cold War, and maybe the closest that we've ever come to nuclear war. Give me 5 minutes. I bet you can work this into a conversation today, but first, like and subscribe if you haven't, so you can keep up. I do this every single day. If you had to guess the closest the world's been to nuclear war, you'd probably say the Cuban Missile Crisis, maybe. That's a good pick. But in 1983, NATO ran a military exercise that was so convincing the Soviets thought it was the real thing, and we came scarily close to ending everything without a real shot even fired. The Cold War that year was already running hot. In September, the Soviets shot down Korean Airlines Flight 007, killing all 269 people on board, including a U.S. congressman. Just weeks later, this was scary, Soviet early warning satellites falsely detected 5 American missiles heading their way. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov had to decide. He's like, either tell your superiors and risk starting a nuclear war, or assume that the system was wrong. And he said, okay, it was a glitch. And he honestly saved the world. So everybody say, thank you, Stanislav. Thank you, Stanislav. Because that was really close. I'll have to do an episode on that, a standalone episode on that. And then came November. From November 7th to 11th, NATO staged Able Archer 83, a routine command post exercise designed to simulate escalation from conventional warfare to nuclear release. But this year it looked different. High-level political participation. There were periods of radio silence, aircraft being moved to forward airfields, and drills for how heads of state would authorize launches. So on the surface, it was just a more realistic training scenario, a way to sharpen NATO's nuclear readiness. But to Soviet intelligence, it looked like the West was gearing up for a surprise nuclear attack. At the time, the Soviets were already running Operation Ryan, a massive KGB program to detect signs of a U.S. first strike. And I just finished the book, The Spy and the Traitor, the greatest espionage story of the Cold War by Ben McIntyre. It was an amazing nonfiction book. I highly recommend it for anyone into historical nonfiction that reads at times like a thriller. Super good. And it focuses on Oleg Gordievsky, a KGB officer secretly working for Britain's MI6. Gordievsky later revealed that Moscow's top brass genuinely feared NATO might use a military exercise as cover for the first real strike. From his post in London, he reported that Operation Ryan was in overdrive, scanning for any hint that the West might be about to push the button. The KGB was even monitoring Western leaders' families to see if they were leaving city centers, anything that could indicate that a war was coming. Soviet leadership genuinely believed that the West might launch this devastating attack. Reports later revealed that Soviet forces in East Germany and Poland went on heightened alert during Able Archer. Nuclear-capable aircraft were armed. Their moves suggest that they were preparing to respond for real if they thought that this exercise crossed the line. By the early 1980s, Soviet leadership was growing increasingly paranoid. They feared that American technological advances, especially Reagan's proposed Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI, aka Star Wars, might one day give the U.S. a first strike capability without fear of retaliation. Typically, the notion of mutually assured destruction, was thought to be the ultimate nuclear deterrent. Like if I nuke you, you're going to nuke me, everyone's going to end up nuked, so there's no point in nuking someone. But Star Wars, which was like a borderline sci-fi idea of space lasers shooting down nukes, combined with U.S. missiles in West Germany that could hit Moscow in minutes, was enough to make Soviet leaders worried that the U.S. could one day launch a nuclear attack without fear of retaliatory annihilation. Fortunately, though, the Soviets didn't pull the trigger. In the weeks after the exercise, intelligence briefings began to filter in, including Gordievsky's reports. And they revealed just how seriously the Soviets had taken it. In early 1984, Reagan was shown a classified report detailing the Soviet response and was reportedly shaken. In his diary, he wrote about how stunned he was that they saw the U.S. as the aggressor. Many historians believe that this moment helped shift Reagan's tone away from the USSR being the evil empire, away from that rhetoric and towards serious arms control talk with Gorbachev. And I think that's a scary aspect of it to me, the fact that the West didn't fully realize how close it had come until years later when documents were declassified and Gordievsky's intelligence became public. And unlike the Cuban Missile Crisis, there were no headlines, no tense national addresses, just a drill, some radio silence, and a near miss that stayed secret for a decade. So there you have it. Historians now rank Able Archer 83 alongside the Cuban Missile Crisis and Stanislav Petrov's September decision as one of the most dangerous nuclear near misses in history. But unlike those other moments, the public had no idea at the time. The headlines didn't read, "Yo, whoa, that was close. All of us almost died." It was just buried in the archives for years. Go check out my sources. Go check out that book that I recommended. Been reading a ton of nonfiction books this year. Have a ton of recommendations, whatever you're into. I'm happy to give some recs. My sources are in the YouTube description. Share this with someone who likes this sort of thing. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Let me know if you remember this or remember the news coming out after the fact. Go check out the short version I do of all these at Smartest Year Ever everywhere on social media. In the meantime, stay curious and stay clever on our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalists. I will see you tomorrow in the Smartest Year Ever.